I think we have all had problems with technology in the past. So it is 7:38 p.m. calling this meeting to order. And Ms. Barnes, if you could please put up the agenda for consideration, draft agenda.
Certainly. Got the live stream set. Here we go. Oops, wrong committee. Just sorry about that. We do have another meeting tomorrow night, just in case.
I have a PGCMA meeting tomorrow night, so
It's a busy week. All right, let's see here. Let's get the right committee. There we go.
okay. Are there, let's look at the first item on the agenda is approval of the agenda, of course. Are there any amendments required to the agenda? And does anyone have any conflicts of interest for agenda items, except of course that you have to live in the wards that you have to choose? It's sort of an obvious conflict of interest for everyone.
No conflicts of interest outside of the obviously stated.
Right.
Correct. None.
Same.
Okay, so if there's no amendments and no conflicts, may I please have a motion to approve the agenda as submitted?
Motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion by Chris, seconded by Ifyak. Any discussion? Didn't think there would be. Do a roll call vote in the order that you appear in the list. So Chris?
Aye.
Kate?
Aye.
Ifyak?
Aye.
And I abstain, motion passes 3-0. Next item on the agenda is approval of minutes. I presume that all of you had a chance to look at them, or hope you did. I looked at them and didn't find any issues. Did any of you find anything that needs to be updated?
I had
No
nothing.
issues from me.
Perfect minutes
That's
again.
Once again.
Okay, can I please have a motion to approve the minutes as submitted?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Kate, seconded by Chris. Any discussion of the minutes?
No.
Okay, roll call vote again in the order that you appear at the moment. Chris?
Aye.
Kate?
Aye.
Ifyak?
Aye.
And we have a member of the public in attendance, Andrew Farrington. I know what that F stands for.
Oh, good.
Good evening.
Thank you for joining us. Okay, I am going to, for the next item, the draft ward maps, I'm going to seize control of the screen from Director Barnes. And hope I can find the right app. There we go. No, that's not the right one. There we go. Okay. So there are the 2010 wards for everyone's reference. Hope I'm not giving you seasickness by zooming in and out a little bit. And just to sort of have them in front of you again, this is one of the viable maps, which is the less disruptive post-Fred map. This is another viable map, which is the northern swath, but having more horizontal boards in this way when compared to, I think it was this one, which has sort of more verticalish boards and preserves this neighborhood, but there's still issues down in this neighborhood. And then I think this is, no, we already saw that one. This is another one, which is, these are the FIKE amendment. This is the FIKE amendment to the one of the maps. And he had asked whether we could sort of keep things more vertical. He liked the orange ward over here, the way that it laid out. And so this is a particular split of teal and cyan wards that works, but we can, of course, the borders here are a little bit fluid. And in fact, after the hearing on Saturday, then I realized I wanted to move this to be mid-block. So it'll either move up half a block or move down half a block in order to not split the block. So those are the current draft maps. I didn't come away from Saturday's hearing with any true new directions for things to change, things to try that we hadn't done before. There were people who were concerned about the exact shape of some of these borders. And you know, those we can adjust those. And so I guess the question is tonight, what do we want to do about adjusting boundaries? And by the way, that's just because it was easy. I'll move it up somewhere further north. That was just all the people who live there are living in this area, and that was just drawing a straight line to avoid them and get over to the edge. So any thoughts, committee members?
Yeah, my first thought is, I guess what success might look like for today is, does it make sense to walk away with, hey, these are the 2 options or 3 options? I think right now we may have 4. Some are slightly similar. I think there's the FIKE amendment one that you just mentioned. I think there might be a version, so like this version. There's one of the northern swaths that are just maybe that was the last one you showed. Is it just between those 2? Is there a third one?
So this is the northern swath that preserves my neighborhood, this neighborhood in here, and pulls in this neighborhood and a little bit south of East West Highway. And then this is a different, no, that's not a northern swath. Nope. Here, I may have to give up a little bit. Northern swath, post Fred. That's one, and that's one, the FIKE amendment one. No, that's the list is receptive. There's one more. I swear there is another one, other northern swath. That's one northern swath. Yeah, that's the other northern swath. So it pulls this neighborhood in the neighborhoods across the river. And just to be clear, these jagged lines and so on are chosen based on the street that the houses that are underneath face onto. So the houses along here face onto Taylor Road, and I thought that they could be separated from these houses fairly cleanly. And the houses there again face onto 51st and so on.
I will admit that the FIKE amendment, I don't necessarily think taking and splitting up the current ward to, I mean, that group, that last block on the right, I mean, coming out of the feedback from
That one.
over the weekend, correct? Yeah, the green to blue there. And that was a pretty clear feedback from the community, was maintaining blocks and groups as much as possible. Now, not to say that those individuals that are on the right-hand side would have nothing in common with the individuals that are across 410. and then heading south. But like that was a pretty clear feedback that we got, was maintaining community blocks as much as possible.
Yeah, but there's, I mean, you could say all of these people should be kept into a block as much as possible.
Mhm.
And because, this entire area is pretty cross communicative, and yet it's split across 3 wards. And we have similarly over here, little jaggy edges. It's just, it's a question of, how do you decide to slice and dice when you have 6 wards?
I mean, I guess one thing, thinking with the purple line coming in through that area,
Hmm.
I don't know if any of those individuals would have more or less impact from the purple line. The green area there being more eastern, if that would have any more impact on their day to day from the purple line, that they'd have more in common along that edge north south than they would east west, because they are that far east.
Yeah, so the purple line is right here, and there are some proposals to put hiker biker trails, starting one proposal is to start from here and somehow get over to this road. One of the proposals is to kind of go there and across and then back up if you wanted to go. Another one is to put a trail in that goes sort of around this way and connects up. And so this block is going to have some impact, because people are going to want to park there. I mean, let's be honest, you can want to park there and walk to the Purple Line station. So that is that's an interesting point as to whether we want to have I mean, probably sort of this general block is going to be more impacted by Purple Line activity than the others in that general area. But we can shift that around. I mean, we could flip this to the other side, maybe extend that a little bit, and then extend this down a little bit. I don't know. It would be an interesting optimization problem. But if we wanted to try to pull all those into the same ward, one of the other or the other northern swath. No, not the northern swath. So that one has all of those people likely to be impacted by that station in a single ward. But down here, where there's going to be another Purple Line station where my hand is now, I hope you can see my hand. There's going to be some significant impact, I think, on the people across the street here. And this area at the moment has much tighter parking issues than this area does. It's the streets here are pretty packed. I guess we could try to carve one off. I mean, is anybody interested in trying to continue this one or adapt this one in some way? Because there's some possibility, and again, I don't see how to do it without crossing over 410 here, but we could, ooch this up into this area. We could ooch down into these blocks in the teal ward, and try to preserve this. But it's none of these are easy. These are all difficult to do. But I can try to do it if that's of interest to people.
I think Andrew had a comment about northern swath. Like the northern swath, it maintains most of the businesses in one ward. I guess, Andrew, what businesses?
I was mistaken, but then there's no way to delete your comment. I forgot all about the businesses along Kenilworth.
Right. Yeah.
Once it's on the internet, it's on the internet.
Yeah, we'll see what happens if Twitter disappears, whether that's true or not.
Yeah. Um, I think personally, that's the, oh no, wow, we didn't really talk about that purple line impact on those two locations, but for that specific issue only, this map does kind of address the two purple lines and keeps them consistent between, I guess, those two different communities that would be impacted, so they'd be able to have more of a say, not be split up. So it does have a benefit there.
So this map, let me turn off all these other maps that don't exist anymore. So this has that continuity here. And I could, look at adjusting this to try to capture more in a single ward. And I don't know exactly how that would work, but that's definitely something I can work on and try to capture in here.
Population wise, the east of where your hand is, where that, I don't know what body of water that is, but is there any population between that block and to the river?
So all of this is park, and so
Right.
there's nobody there. There's actually a from here where my hand is to here, there's several houses that are there, but there's nothing in here until you get on the other side of this is the Anacostia River, and so the streets over here have a lot of houses and a lot of people. And in particular, the only places you can cross this river while on foot are here at River Road and here at East West Highway, here at Riverdale Road.
Right.
Yeah, I think personally I don't know. I understand the goal of trying to get that corner that's currently the top of green in one like ward, but it's going to be different than the orange one has its own sort of purple line stop versus so. I like the idea of trying to get the sort of the whole where orange is now, like that whole community along Kenilworth. I think they're going to have like a unique disruption just with the purple lines, so having them all together, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I don't believe.
I'll agree that the purple line impacts on this neighborhood here just from during the construction, which had the bridge construction is underway, but hasn't really severely impacted them, except cutting off the access to Kenilworth here. But yeah, this neighborhood is going to feel the purple line a little bit more than over here, just because of distance.
Yeah. From a population standpoint, the blue that's underneath East West Highway, are the numbers sort of equivalent to like the, like I think one suggestion was, can you get rid of all the blue that's south of East West Highway and then use that to get more of the communities that's in the top part of the green? But I'm not sure if the numbers worked out. Is that like one block or is that 2 blocks?
Down here, so this block right here has a pretty high population. It has a couple of small apartment buildings / rooming houses, and so there are a lot more people in that block than there are in a similar size block elsewhere. And so yeah, I mean, I can try to move that up to East West Highway and expand that over. I believe that there are a lot of these blocks have smaller houses and more of them than the blocks over on this side of that particular neighborhood. And so the population of these blocks is higher. And I can actually, why don't I, try to remove the things that are confusing here. Well, relatively confusing. Oh, that's a double census block, so that's going to mess up the. So these two blocks here, so that includes that one, have 106 versus in here most of them of a similar size or sort of would be like 50, 60, and so that's a big jump. But this block here has 102. This one has almost 90 in it. The 178 here includes, there's houses along there, there are houses along there, houses along there, and it includes everything on the north side of Tuckerman along here. So 4 blocks of that. So there's a lot of houses that are in that single census block. But going back to turning that off. This is the one we were looking at. There's probably like 160 there, and I think there's more than that there. So if we really did move this boundary right up to East-West Highway, then probably still these 2 blocks would be in the teal versus in the cyan. That's going to be my guess, but please don't quote me on that. And because I mean, part of the reason I shifted this boundary was to try to get some more population into this into the cyan ward here, and probably I will give some of that up if I duck this south a little bit, duck this boundary south a little bit, in order to get away from splitting on a street. But I don't think that's going to be huge because the first part here is Town Center Market and the Town Center Market parking lot, so there aren't as many houses on that side. So I might swap that for the houses that are on Taylor there, for instance.
Well, I think if the green, so if the light blue boundary did move up to East-West Highway and it wasn't able to, if the green boundary would move further south towards East-West Highway, I mean, the blocks that are in close proximity to 410 do have a lot in common with each other, just being that close to the major highway. So
Right.
I think there is some justification there. And then that also ties from the purple line station to that neighborhood all in one group and doesn't have that split up. So I could see that being, depending on how those numbers work out, from taking the blue boundary up to 410. And I counted in those 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks, it was somewhere around 250.
Yeah.
Based on that last map, but you have those couple, the bottom 2 there cut out. So
Yep. So if you can hold on for just a second here, I can actually need to get this down so I can actually grab the tools. The screen sharing stuff overlays them up at the top. So this is MD Shapes 2. Selected features only. Turn them on so we can be sure. So got the right tool. So if we go down there, that didn't select what I wanted to because I had the wrong layer selected. You get to see me struggling with the software to do this. So that is 363 people there. And And that's 176. So about half of these, if all those disappear, then only about half of these will be the contraction. So let's just say, let's start with that number of 176 down there and see how far down this goes. So that's 123 just to right there. Oops. I'm going to do a slight attempt at skilled selection here. So that's 147. So probably I would pick up these 4 houses and that would get it within shouting distance. So all, well, except that these are already in the blue ward.
Just one other thing to think about there is that's Taylor that's cutting across. That's the first major jump off where people hop off of 410 to start cutting through neighborhoods, right? To head
Yeah,
north, north and
this
south.
is Taylor, exactly, right there.
So I mean, that's another kind of good geographical reason for, that green boundary there, east and west is split. I mean, that everybody hates hates that particular obstacle that people use to get through the neighborhoods, coming down through Queensbury where I am too. So
And
keeping all that on
my
the
original
record.
version of this map had that being the boundary. So these houses on the east side of Taylor were in the teal ward here, but the numbers didn't balance out. And I don't know why I decided to go that way rather than extending this down to the Riversdale Mansion, because that would actually, maybe the numbers didn't work out so well, but that would be, a way to do that is to extend this down. There's a few people who live in this quarter. Some of these houses are empty, but that would be, another way is to pull this boundary over to Taylor and pull this boundary between blue and teal down to similar to what it is today, because there's a diagonal cut through there. So this is currently Ward 1, although the boundary goes halfway through this block. All of these are in Ward 2 right now, and all that corner is in Ward 2.
Just with that distinction on Taylor, the walking path to get to that top part would be what, literally crossing East-West Highway on foot on Taylor to get to them. There's no other paths to get to that, what's that sort of, what you have highlighted in yellow, those 4 blocks.
So these 4 blocks, there's a crossover on East-West Highway. There's also a path underneath the East-West Highway bridge over here, footpath, Anacostia River path. But Taylor is certainly would be the driving connection if you're trying to drive, and there is sidewalk along East-West Highway on most of that segment. I'm trying to remember. I'd have to pull up Google Street Maps to get a check of that, but I'm pretty sure there's sidewalk that connects back into that way. So once you get across East-West Highway, you can ooch along the edge there. So, I'm hearing that that trying to have this area in a single ward. Somebody said something in the chat, which I didn't necessarily know. Most of the and that was Andy's most of the businesses comment. So I guess the question is, are people happy with this, and we should just try for some different divisions over on this side of the river to try to, and if a goal is to get as much of this into a single ward as possible, then I can certainly take that as design guidance and run with it.
Yeah, I think not to, I don't keep on sending you back to keep on doing things. I personally, my opinion, the magenta, is that what we're calling
This
yeah.
one.
Personally, I like that shape. I think the orange ward I think that works for a couple of different reasons, falling along the river, impacts on purple. And I think personally that just works very well there. So
Okay.
I think other than that section, like we were just talking about there, whether it be bringing blue up to 410 and then dropping the corner down where you kind of have the yellow dots now. I don't think there's anything else that I'd have any outside other issues personally with.
Okay. Well, I can try to get some changes in here and see if I can rearrange things up here a little bit.
I think I agree with Chris Fike on this one, that it seems like the orange ward really works well that way. But that yellow, it just seems like a really hard bit. I mean, it seems like it's almost the last bit and it's difficult to get there.
Well, kind of going back to Ifiok's point from the very beginning, though, of this meeting is out of this process. I mean, do we want to come up with two options for council? I don't, like, Alan, your question was, are there any that we can just get rid of? But in reality, it seems like this, with some modifications based on what we're talking about, is a viable option. And then is there one other that we'd want to present to council and obviously they're the ones that need to make the decision and should probably have some options to look at, but is that where we want to kind of land after tonight?
I think that would be ideal, is if we can have whittled it down to at least a few different but viable options, and that can include modifications from what we're staring at tonight.
Yeah.
So this was one where I was trying to have sort of more cohesion over here, but at the expense of splitting up this neighborhood. And this was the one that is like the northern swath that connects the two townhome communities and absolutely preserves this area, and for the most part preserves all of the purple line impacts. I mean, nobody is going to be living in here. There is the possibility that an area here where there's housing being developed that will be annexed by the town. I think that's a decent chance. And so the blue ward down here might grow a little bit in the next round, but that's TBD.
Oh, that's the development backward. That's the wooded area.
Exactly.
On was that south side of where the purple line tracks will be?
Yes, exactly.
Gotcha.
So I mean, I think that that this one is viable. Again, there might be some shifting of boundaries down here between blue and teal. It's very similar. Magenta ward over here, and then this one is another one that has a lot of good features to it. And so I think tweaks to both of those maybe, and those would be the options that were sent forward to the town council.
Agreed.
Yeah,
agree
me
with that.
too. Yeah, I think so too.
Okay, well, that is, I'll sort of, if I don't destroy everything here, then I will drag those two. So that's one of them. And that is the other one. Drag them up towards the top of the, make sure that the right one's up there. I'm happy to take the feedback on these and try to finesse the borders and see what I can do.
I have
And,
a very small suggestion just for the purpose of keeping track of what's what.
mhm,
Think about naming with dates when you save your file names. Just, I'm
Okay.
having a hard time keeping, I'm confess to you, having a hard time keeping all of them separate in my head. And I've been thinking about them I print them out, I put a watermark on the PDF so that I know what date I'm looking at. And that helps me a lot. I don't know if it would help you too.
Okay, well, my thought is that I'm going to probably generate new versions of both of these maps rather than changing the ones that exist, and I'll make new versions and adjust the boundaries there.
Okay,
And I will, the new versions will have 11s in the 2020 11, so we can track them.
thank you.
Okay.
And then just real quick for this map, these changes, we don't have an issue, or is there any concern about looking at the street names? I guess it's what, Sheridan Street, is that one, that middle crossing street?
This is Sheridan here.
That north of Sheridan, those two blocks are part of the blue, and then the bottom two south of Sheridan are part of like green.
Yeah, that's going to be what I'm working at.
Okay.
Is to see what can happen there.
Good.
And I think there's another possibility, which is to expand this some, perhaps contract these and expand this down. But I'll play with that a little bit. But I think that the general idea is that these should be pulled into the what I'm calling cyan, and these should probably be pulled into teal. Okay.
That sounds good to me, Alan.
Okay. The only other thing on our agenda, as I remember it, is, and I will cease screen sharing here and give it back to Director Barnes. I think the only other thing is schedule, and the Town Council is having a work session on the 20th of December, and so we should have a final handoff of recommended maps at that time, so they can spend their winter breaks thinking about this, and then something will be introduced as a redistricting map at the January legislative session, and everyone can discuss it during the month and then be voted on, perhaps with amendments in February.
Okay.
But the idea that we should have recommendations to the council, and ideally, I think we should have another meeting in sort of early December. Maybe I should pull up my calendar now and see when that might happen. I have to turn off my family calendars because otherwise it is overwhelming.
No kidding.
There we go. Getting better. Okay. So are people available on the 8th of December?
Let me look. Yes.
The other options are either the 14th or the 15th for me. Director Barnes, are there other town events on any of those nights? 7th is Mutzi. 14th. Yeah, just looking. 14th, I think, is Green Team, except they've suspended through till January or February. There's no PGCMA. I guess the 12th is open also. So 8, 12, 14, 15 are good for me.
I think any one of those is fine for me. So take my hat or marker off the table and just figure out wherever anybody else can make it.
Yeah, 8 or 15 would be, Thursdays are a little bit easier for me, but could do
Okay.
Monday if needed.
Yeah, both work for me.
Well, if both work, I'm going to ask for the 8th, since it'll give me a little bit of time to really clean up the maps and make sure all the boundaries are nice for presentation to the
Okay.
council.
Sure.
And if
That's great.
if I get them, I will probably ask for final approval over email. You know, that I'll be given guidance and just make sure that I didn't mess up any
Okay.
details. And
Okay.
and then I will plan to present something on the 21st to the
Okay.
council.
Great.
Any public comments, Andrew?
Thanks for having me.
It's really nice to have somebody here.
It
Tell you the truth.
is.
It's great. So appreciate you coming and providing your feedback to us. We appreciate that.
Even though we're going to deep six your comment. So that you don't.
Well, I mean, I was wrong.
And we won't tell anybody that either.
Well, it'll be in the minutes, but maybe we can sort of elude over that in the minutes a little bit.
Right.
We can
All right.
give you credit for figuring it out yourself in a minute. You know, say, oh, I really know.
That's right. He leaped to his feet.
Okay.
All right.
Are there any other items to discuss, or are we ready to adjourn?
Just a real quick question. When it's presented to the council, is the idea that they'll make a decision that meeting, or is it that's the first of a few sessions?
So the maps will be introduced at the work session, and it may be that the council has some feedback at that point. And then I would guess that something is going to be introduced as legislation at the legislative session, which is on the 9th? No, it's gotta be earlier than that. I don't remember what day of the month. I'm not David Lingua. I don't know what day of the month is every month starts on. But if you give me a second, I can get there. So the first is actually the 2nd. That's early.
Wow.
So
Mayor Thompson, the legislative meeting is actually the 9th.
okay, so it got delayed. So
sure.
I was correct.
You were
Yeah, you're
correct.
right.
Let the record show.
I just didn't trust myself. So it will be introduced on the 9th, and then there are possible amendments at they'll be discussed again at the January work session. There might be suggested changes introduced by the council at that time, and then a final vote at the February legislative.
Okay.
Because we will
need
be getting started on election season in February.
Right.
So we'll be
13th.
setting up the calendar and so on. So we have to have the new wards in place by then. I would highly recommend against this to the council, but there's a small chance that there's like a calendar conflict that the new wards might be adopt it at a special before the legislative in February. Have to see what the calendar looks like.
Okay.
Mayor Thompson, there is one last step. We'll have to review the street map report from the Board of Elections, just to make sure all the wards are correct for the county's portion of the election that they do. So I've already alerted them that we'll be redistricting, but we'll just need to carefully make sure that those streets and everything are correct.
Okay, the last time, a million years ago, then they actually wanted a shape file for the wards, and I can provide that to them. If you happen to talk to them and could ask them what format they want, then that would be nice to know now rather than in February. And when I'm done, then all of these are going to be in a including the location of every single property and the shape of the map, since I should be able to generate a list of every address and what ward it is in, as well as providing them the shape file. And I presume that one of those two they'll be happy with.
It will also be a good tool, I think, for the election judges, just in
I
case
was just
people are
going to say that.
Yeah.
The election judges will be grateful for all of those things.
Okay. Well, that I will plan to provide those to the election judges, and I'll provide the Board of Election, County Board of Elections, whatever they want. Okay. Anything else to discuss?
Not for me.
I'm gone. Good night, y'all.
Good night.
Good night, Andrew.
Okay. Then may I please have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Chris, seconded by Ifiok. Not discussed or debated. I'll do a roll call vote. Again, in the order you appear, which seems to be random. Chris,
Aye.
Ifiok,
Aye.
Kate,
Hi.
and I abstain. The motion passes 3-0. We are adjourned at 8:25 p.m.
Thank
Thank you all very much. I really appreciate